So, for all beings, human beings, energy is a big thing, how much energy one has, how to apply it, where does it come from, how is it sustained. We might say we have, what needs to be remembered, we have a kind of a energy of doing things, an energy of being. The energy of being is just basic vitality. One feels alive, one feels bright, one feels balanced. And in spiritual life, really, that's the important one. The doing comes from that, and also what we do should nourish that sense of feeling comfortable, collected, refreshed, enthusiastic, or otherwise it just dies out, doesn't it? So we say, so we look at realising life in the world in general is about doing, and that becomes, see, you can only do so much doing, and if it's not, held in balance and feeding back into the heart, the sense of being, then we tend to run out. You get people burn out. Just because you're not replenishing, in fact overdoing. Well, there's a lot there in terms of worldly conditioning, which is the performance, achievement, faster, better, it's always to get more money, to make things more productive. So in this kind of endless drive, not even personally helped, but corporately. So we say, try to offer the man who's delivering the letters, have a cup of tea. He said, no, I can't stop, I'm being monitored. And so you have a moment of break, that gets registered, and then you get sacked. So you see people who are off delivering things, they won't even hold a conversation, they just get out of the car, get out of the van, open the back door, throw things out, jump back in, drive off again, thinking, what? To just say hello, but no time, because they're being monitored. And that time means money. And so that kind of, you see this development, certainly in my lifetime from that, to that high speed, cut every moment into productivity. And the results of that, stress, pressure. And it's not both exerting a lot of energy, but nothing coming back. The only thing that comes back is the pay packet, which of course is helpful, but as the old cliche says, some things money can't buy. So you just spend your money on antidepressants. Keep you going. Either subtle or gross antidepressants. And we say there's something like increasing mental illness, but then again it's really, what mental illness is crazy, no, just basically depressed, unbalanced. It's not mental, it's not, it's not rational illness, it's an emotional sense, this sense of well-being is broken. People are so anxious to get results, performance-driven, pressurised. Even kind of sportsmen, athletes get mental illness because they're driven. And so it's really the Chitta's being affected. And with this emphasis really from, education even is, could it be economics or maths or learning a language or whatever, but definitely the pressure to be able to produce something so you'll get a decent job. And that will make you, for your well-being. I'm sure the intention, however fuzzy it is generally because I'm good in it. But what really, how do you get education how to be a happy human being and understand our strengths and our capacities and how we can encourage and live in a loving, balanced, ethical way in the world? You don't get that. That may creep in, but the main thing is, get the grades. This programming from early life. Social effects. Can you afford to have a child? Can you afford a child? Afford? You buy one? No. The amount of money you've got to spend on having one of these humans. I guess it's not really the sense of, if you want to get some help, you have to pay for it. We might say in kind of less developed, in that sense, cultures, then people next door will help. That's what cities and villages are for, to have neighbours who can help each other. Social, then you get dystopia, social breakdown, you don't even know the neighbours are. So this sense of this kind of, materialism, how it eats away the fabric and the connective tissue, both in terms of relationship to other people, relationship with our own bodies and minds and energies, even what we configure life and relationship between nations. So you've got a nation that's got a lot of money is better than a nation that doesn't have much money, because they get more power to buy bombs and things like that. I think, well, who's happier? Who's happier? And that's one of the salutary lessons you begin to, sense, where there is some sense of communal neighbourliness and some fundamental spirituality, not even refined, but just help each other. People are quite happy, even if they're poor. I've noticed this when I was in South Africa, where some of the townships look pretty poor. Kids are running around happy, big smiles. Guys are walking around having time to talk to each other. The women are yattering by the well, chatting to each other. Nobody didn't get the sack. You think, well, what did we lose when we won all these other wonderful things? What did we lose? So this can seem like, talk about social, but you begin to sense how deeply ingrained these do-it performance things are, and how the valuing and judging. And so when you're coming into, spiritual, which I'm certainly, I've been on antidepressants or alcohol or something in my 20s, if I hadn't had some inclination towards something about depth. Because life in the world is depressing materially. It's not gladdening. There's glitter to it. Materialism is just glitter, not gladdening, not deeply nourishing. And even realizing what has to be nourished, it's not about food and health and diet, it's about this quality of heart. So important to, why I try to reframe the word citta as heart, because it's not, it doesn't really exactly cover what we normally refer to. It's still, if we think in terms of mind as the functioning capacity to reason and intellect and figure things out, we can miss something so important about the quality of being. And taking up, kind of retreat or meditation practice or whatever we like to call it, there's got to be enthusiasm for it. You can't just keep telling yourself you should, or meditating so you don't feel guilty about not doing it. You can't just keep going on, I should do this as I get somewhere. You can't keep doing it like that. There's got to be some sense of this kind of quality of, happy, encouraged. Oh yeah, let's look into that. Oh yeah, enthusiasm, heart quality. And that's really, otherwise the effort, however, prodigious it may seem, isn't really right effort. Because it's not upholding what's beautiful, it's just trying to achieve something in the future. And then you get, so energy, the important energy doesn't come from willpower, although we can use energy for willpower when we need to do it. The energy that we can use for willpower comes from somewhere deeper, which is just, one feels a lot of faith, encouragement, eagerness. Yeah. And it's so important to keep, filling that up. This is where the qualities of metta and its allies are so crucial to consider, bear in mind and cultivate. Because they don't work in terms of progress in that same way. More like how much can you include is more the question. If you want to look at development, how much can you include? It's more like the meta direction. You start including anything really. Bringing other people to mind who are easy to include. And then people are perhaps not so easy to include. So at least you're not getting the sense of, distaste or contempt or superiority or anything like that. The sense of metta is based upon a fundamental heart understanding of empathy. Anukampa, which is where the Buddha began his teaching from. Anukampa. And when people ask for a formal Dhamma talk, they say Anukampa, Anukampitam, Anukampimam Pacham, please present the Dhamma out of Anukampa, empathy or resonance or mutuality, mutual feeling, sympathy. And it's a kind of it's a shift of channel. So come out of my coot, you hear the crows cawing and doing whatever crows do. What are they doing up there? They're probably having crow issues, crow conversations, crow chit-chat, crow arguments. Oh yeah, I know that. They're building their crow houses, probably squabbling over who's got the best nest, looking for good twigs. They go, oh, crows being crowish, and I feel a sense of happiness. I don't particularly, it's not because I have a thing about them, it's just a sense of, that shivering of recognition. Crow, doing what we all do. You see the rats, which generally get a bad reputation. The rats running around trying to avoid getting caught and scurrying, obviously looking for food and nesting. Rats doing rat things, crows doing crow things. Then you meet humans doing human things. This sense of resonance arises. It's almost like tissues speak to each other. Then you're entering that kind of channel. That way of, maybe that kind of intelligence. That's the fundamental life intelligence that helps people to be together, and to form any kind of cohesion, externally with others, internally with themselves. We don't have any sympathy for our bodies and minds. It's always trying to make them produce good results. And you can kind of hear that sometimes, I can't. Somebody saying, I don't really feel like I can be in the monastery because I'm not that strong. Get around, walk, turn up, keep precepts. I don't think I'm physically strong enough. Is that a requirement? I can't sit that long, my knees don't work. You get kind of what I call ableism. People with good knees, people with bad knees, are definitely second rate. Or people, and you realise, everybody's something, aren't they? Someone's got bad knees, she's got a dodgy back, his shoulder hurts, bodies are like this. And even qualities of energy. Some people got a lot of it, and other people can't keep up. Just don't have that much juice. So it's not really said, but somehow or another the very feeling of being like that, you feel inadequate. I'm not great, can't figure things out very well. That sense of, I need to have somebody else help me, or I can't make it, and things like that. These are areas where you can kind of touch into, and there's that same sense of kind of negativity, inadequacy, failure, second rate. Can you include that? We all have it, I'm sure, somewhere. You include it and sympathise, and just let yourself be aware of that in a non-judgmental way, and opening to it, opening to it. Opening to it, and just, the voices or the moods of distaste, or just kind of just putting some energy into those, clearing those. Where's the goal? Where's the benchmark? Where's the bar you have to climb over? If you're building those internally, and of course, one can understand the conditioning that does that, still, your effort, your energy has to be, take that into account, begin to not build bars and cages and benchmarks. Otherwise, it's not pure. And purity is the thing. What can you include? Is a good question. Painful body, sludgy mind states, being a bit dopey and dreary. What can you include without that shying away of ill will or creating a person out of it? Ableism and disableism. I'm a competent person, I'm an incompetent person. Conceit, it's called. Conceiving, these are conditions. Conditions have to be met. This channel. And absorbing it. So what I call the mind, or the manas function, which is important, doesn't do absorbing, it does analysis, it does inquiry, skillful, it does specific accuracy, in that sense, skillful. It doesn't do absorbing. That's not its job. It doesn't operate on that channel. So, when we look at a word like jhana, absorbing, how much effort you have to get to absorb, to get to some special state where you can absorb. And then, that's getting it wrong. That's the wrong way round. And naturally, sometimes you read these texts. This person's got this kind of incredible ability to sort of sit there for 4 hours or 5 hours, just focusing on one point, get really absorbed. Wow, amazing! I can't do that. Well, maybe the absorbing doesn't count. Maybe it's just it's really right there in the suttas. You can't really get very far without seeing this term cropping up. There's an interesting little saying or quote in the suttas where the Buddha says, if you cultivate metta, I think it's for as long as it takes to pull a cow's udder. It's a wonderful graphic image. It takes to then you're cultivating jhana. Because metta is deeply, it's a channel that does easily takes absorption, because it's an emotional receptivity that takes things in. Oh, I feel happy. Oh, you feel happy. Oh, lovely. I don't feel so good. Oh, how's that? It's responding and seeks well-being. And that seeking well-being is not on a point. It's a general overall field of, I'm pretty comfortable apart from that. Yeah, that little regret there, let's just, okay, make peace with that. So you cultivate something like metta, or karuna, or mudita, gladness and appreciation. What can you include? And then, and the nature of it is to take in and work with emotional effects. So those emotional effects become refined. I think so. We talk about emotion effects, and again, this is where emotion tends to get a bit of a bad rap because emotion makes us inefficient. He can't do his job because he's too emotional. It suddenly pops up. He got a mood, so he wants somebody who's cold and clinical who can perform nice and clear constantly. That's what we want. We don't want people having a mood that gets in the way. Maybe that's part of it, because they're like that. They suddenly well up. I certainly agree, unmanaged emotion is difficult. But suffering is not an idea or a philosophy, it definitely is a feeling. And when the Buddha said, I teach this for the elimination of sorrow, pain, grief, lamentation, despair, he's talking about something in the realm of the heart. And then why do we get angry and upset or bitter and spiteful or jealous and crabby or depressed and bereaved? Because it hasn't been cultivated. Not because it's bad, it's just you haven't cultivated it fully, where you can actually include separation without breaking down. You can include pain without getting tight and defensive. You can include failure without getting into judgment and, sometimes, I don't get it right. So, how is he going to learn? Going to be perfect on day one? No, it's about, that quality. So this sense of, harmfulness and how that begins to moderate the surge of need to be, need to get, didn't get, when will I ever get, what's the point, how long do I have to keep going, what do you have to do to become something, anxiety and craving. Yes. Including that, and calming and soothing, and being present with that. So essential to form proper connection. So, that's what inclusion's about. It means you can connect to the aspects of your heart which are not so beautiful and bright, or a bit muttering and grumbling. Okay, include it, not to authenticate it, but what's needed here. What's needed here in this kind of saddened state. A sense of resonant, steadying, not going into judgment, pressure. Gradually, those qualities will subside. So you don't have to be super enthusiastic, just emotionally connected. And sympathetic, of course. So, on retreats or over years and years and years of practice, whatever you call it, a sense of, great rush out, the conquering hero to attain the deathless. That one lasts doesn't last too long. And then you just kind of try to just keep steady and with it, and then sometimes you really don't really want to bother. You know, what I have to do all this stuff for, okay. Steady. You just hold the body, walk, stand, refrain from going out into unskillful directions, hold the form, connect to all what's being felt. And there's an effect when we open to all of it, somehow or another the energies start to line up. Because normally, almost by reflex, we feel something painful, we kind of brace against it, we shut it off, we try to push it away. Physically, you can find it in your body, so it starts to shut things down. And so you coming into your body is opening to the areas uncomfortable, including that in the rest of the body, so you can let energy move through areas that feel stiff and hurt. And same thing on that heart level, bits that feel a bit sad or depleted, and opening the heart to include those. It's also as part of the picture. Now that. And you find that by not adding ill will, or shutting down, or pushing away, or justifying, of course, our connections as they establish begin to stabilise, steady. Because, it may sound kind of corny, but I think the heart's nature is basically benevolent. Because, of course, it's there, we're here to be alive, it's trying to, that's what it's about, isn't it? Having a sense of purpose, and that's what it's designed for, is to, be something that gives us joy in itself, not by adding things to it. So when you farm out your feel-goods, when you farm them out, so you feel good because you've got one of these, you feel good because you can do one of those, you feel good because you know so-and-so, therefore you're in the positive group. When you're farming out your feel-goods to conditions that are not intrinsic, the heart is being made redundant, and it begins to lose presence, including it, and disconnects start to happen. And then you feel sad when you can't get, or you feel lost when you can't have, or you feel, because we haven't really cultivated that. So important for one's own welfare and the welfare of others. I remember visiting Cambodian Bhikkhu Venerable Mahakosananda. And Cambodia, well, there's the story, isn't it? A third of the population of the country getting slaughtered by their fellow citizens. Most of the Sangha being killed. Brutal ways. So he's a senior Cambodian monk. Yeah. And he came here a few times. He shone like a light bulb. He just got into glee. And I visited him I think it was in Providence, Rhode Island, anyway, somewhere. And it was in the back area of town, it's the refugee area, Cambodian refugees. And it was a pretty beat up area of town. And he had this little vihara, And it was just shining with gladness and glee. And that kind of held the whole community together. So they weren't going into more hatred of each other, more bitterness, more resentment, more rage, more grief, more suppressed anger. They're just able to come, and sometimes they just come and they just weep. And that's okay. They have a list of all their relatives who've been killed. They light on a sheet of paper, they light the candle and light the sheet of paper, then put it in the water, and you can see them just feeling what you're feeling about having 16 of their relatives murdered. And it's okay. Not okay, but it can be included. And how healing that is. Not to say I'll get over it, or it's an impermanent characteristic. And he went on one of his Dhamma yatras through Cambodia, which is like a peace walk, walking through these areas where there have been mines and people shooting each other. And he had a whole pilgrimage line of them. And some of them were Buddhists, some were Catholic Christians. It just didn't matter. Walking through this area, somewhere the mines were blowing up. They just nearly got blown up by a mine. So they got blown up by the mine, and the priest says, "Oh, Jesus saved us." And then Marcos says, "Buddha saved us." It doesn't really matter whoever saved us. We're grateful. Rather than, feeling, "Oh no, terrible, how do you think of that?" We were saved. It's like you flip from feeling more defensiveness and bitter and upset, just to think, "Oh, we're not blown up. Great." And see how that switch. I'm sure it doesn't mean they're more careless or less aware of the dangers, but just not letting themselves be conditioned into fear and paranoia and running away, or hatred and bitterness. Preserving the heart above all. The only thing worth preserving. The only thing that can be preserved when your country's flown apart. The only thing that can be preserved, the only thing that must be preserved, the only way that they ever could return to something more human. It's through the power of metta. It's not a small thing. So we come, like externally, you see the horrors that are going on every day in the world. People with different ideologies, different religions, different countries and so forth, just hating, bombing, shooting, for power, for wealth, for gain. And just realise it just gets worse and worse. Because it naturally produces more bitterness, more resentment, more of the same. When are they ever going to get it? When are we ever going to get it? So just come back. Let's look at where we are today. There is a sense of time, and measurement. Have you got anywhere? How long do will you get anywhere? Just, look at that, look what that's underneath those measurements, those marks. Where are you now? at peace with yourself, how it is. The only way growth can occur is through warm-heartedness. Not saying where you're at is absolutely where you want to be forever or perfect or whatever. No, but the only way it can grow is through warm-heartedness. It's not going to grow. You can kind of clip things on. But organic growth from the heart has to occur through qualities of metta. And metta, that agent, naturally responsive, suffusive, takes things in. And you feel the energy of it is a distinctly different form. Whereas most of our mental energy shoots out like an arrow to objects, even to imagined objects like next week or something, or where I'm going to go in a year's time. Things that aren't even here, shoots out. Or states I haven't got to, or knowledge I haven't arrived at, or something. An arrow is an arrow that shoots out to it. But you notice the qualities of jhana and metta, they talk about suffusion and pervasion. So the energy of the heart is not shooting in an arrow, it's just misting, spreading, opening, softening, something that saturates, more like fluid, like water, or like warmth, that pervades. And both these levels or developments, both the samadhi development and the metta development, are framed using the same word. Paritva, spreading. So, saying not one part of your body is not pervaded by happiness and ease. And you cultivate your own metta fields. Anywhere in your field of people you hold your will, look down upon, despise, feel jealous about, feel yourself, or even yourself, your own images, yourself as being inadequate or not, or you should be. Any of these areas of negativity need to be gently pervaded. You can stop putting the measurements on, measure how much you can include instead. If it's sad, compassion, other person's sadness, defects, compassion. If it's, that naturally gets a lot of headlines, mudita, being able to appreciate, rejoicing, I live harmlessly, no creature need fear me. I live without intoxication. So my mind is clear, it's not foggy. I take that seriously. I live with restraint. Not easy. Goes against the grain. I do it and I cultivate it. Can we actually appreciate that? Almost a fundamental, not that esoteric, not that refined, but fundamental qualities of what is our field of practice. And dwell appreciating it. And that itself fills, uplifts, fortifies, nourishes. And within that, this is something I can develop from here. And you feel steadied by taking in the nourishment that you've cultivated skillful states. Even for the duration it takes to pull a cow's udder. Perhaps you could put another one. So we can take in as many other beings we can admire, which is wonderful. We're fortunate of that. But remember, it's the qualities. And the qualities you can resonate with. Oh, this is there. Oh yeah, that. You find it in yourself. Then it resounds. It's not just a projection, it's a resounding and internal affirmation. And you pick up that theme, somebody's presenting, so you can sense it, you take it in. Oh, this is his thoroughness. This is her diligence. This is his concern for, welfare of others. That's beautiful. Then your heart knows what's right and how to feed upon it. So it builds up the strength to spread to areas that are left out, gone dead, disorganized, hurt. And so we become more and more whole and complete. Acts as a foundation for future development. It can only go that way. So let's take some time for direct practice.